I chose you and lost my marriage. I didn't wake up one morning planning to destroy a life. No one ever does. We wake up thirsty, not knowing when thirst became hunger, not knowing when hunger learned the shape of another person's name. This is not a justification. This is not an apology wrapped in poetry. This is a confession, written with hands that still shake when I remember the sound of my wife's breath at night. Steady, trusting, unaware that somewhere inside me a quiet decision was already forming, like a crack in a wall that hasn't yet fallen but knows it will. I chose you, but before that choice, I chose silence. And before silence, I chose distance. And before distance, I chose the cowardly comfort of routine. The way a man convinces himself that survival is the same thing as living. My marriage did not die suddenly. It faded the way old photographs do, faces still there, but the colors forgetting themselves. We became efficient, we became polite, we became roommates who shared history instead of desire. And I told myself that this was adulthood, that love matures into quietness, that passion is a young man's disease. I told myself many lies. I was very good at telling them. Then you appeared, not dramatically, not like a storm. You came like a sentence I had been waiting to finish my whole life. Ordinary at first, a voice, a look that lasted half a second longer than it should have, a conversation that didn't end where conversations usually end. You listened, not politely, hungrily, as if my words were something you had been deprived of, as if my thoughts mattered, not because they were correct, but because they were mine. Do you know what that does to a man who has been slowly disappearing inside his own life? I didn't touch you, not at first. I touched the idea of you. I touched the version of myself that existed when I spoke to you. I touched the man I used to be before responsibility hardened into resignation. At home, my wife asked me how my day was. I said, fine. That word became a weapon. Short, efficient, final. I stopped telling her about my thoughts because they no longer felt safe there. Or maybe I was the unsafe one. Maybe I was already gone and blaming the house for being empty. You never asked me to leave her. That's the part that haunts me the most. You didn't need to. You simply existed in a way that exposed everything my marriage had stopped being. With you, I laughed without checking the time. With you, silence wasn't awkward, it was intimate. With you, I remembered that desire isn't just about bodies. It's about being seen without translation. I started noticing the weight of my wedding ring, not because it hurt, but because it reminded me that every promise has gravity. At night, lying next to my wife, I stared at the ceiling and argued with God, or maybe with myself. I told myself I was still loyal because I hadn't crossed the physical line, as if betrayal waits for skin before it begins, as if the heart doesn't know exactly when it steps out of bounds. You lived in my thoughts like a secret room. Every time I entered it, I told myself it was the last time. Every time I left, I carried a piece of you back with me. I began to resent my wife not for what she did, but for what she represented. A life chosen once, now demanding to be chosen every day. She noticed the change before I admitted it to myself. Women always do. She asked if I was tired, if I was stressed, if something was wrong. I said no. I lied with the calm confidence of a man protecting his own destruction. The truth is, I was terrified of losing her, terrified of losing you, terrified of becoming the villain in a story I never intended to write. I wanted a miracle where no one would bleed. I wanted desire without consequence. I wanted to be forgiven for a crime I hadn't yet confessed. And then came the moment, the quiet, irreversible one. Not a kiss, not a touch, a decision. The moment I admitted to myself, if I had to choose, I already had. I chose you in the way my voice softened when I said your name. I chose you in the way I imagined a future that no longer included the woman who had built my past with me. I chose you every time I compared, every time I measured, every time I wondered what if instead of asking what now. When I finally told my wife, there was no dramatic explosion, just devastation so quiet it was unbearable. She didn't scream, she didn't beg. She looked at me like someone trying to recognize a stranger wearing a familiar face. Is there someone else? She asked. I wanted to say no. I wanted to say it was just me, just confusion, just a phase. But I was done lying. Yes, I said. And with that single word, years collapsed. She asked what she did wrong. That question still follows me into sleep. I told her the truth as gently as I could. It's not about wrong, it's about empty. That was crueler than any accusation. Packing my things felt like erasing myself. Every object carried memory. Every corner whispered a version of me that had once been sure. I walked out not triumphant, not relieved, but hollowed out, carrying guilt like a second spine. And you waited, not impatiently, not victoriously. You waited like someone who knew that love gained through loss is never simple. I lost my marriage the day I chose honesty over comfort, or maybe the day I chose desire over duty, or maybe much earlier when I stopped choosing my wife and started choosing not to notice. I don't know yet if choosing you was right. This is not a love story with clean edges. This is the first chapter of consequences. I chose you, and I lost my marriage, And somewhere between those two truths, I lost the illusion that love is supposed to save us. This is only the beginning. What came after the fall, after the door closed behind me, the world did not pause. That was the first cruelty. I expected thunder or silence heavy enough to crush me, or at least some cosmic acknowledgement that a life had just split in half. But the street outside my old house was the same. Cars passed, children laughed somewhere, the sky refused to mourn. I stood there with a bag in my hand, suddenly aware of how small a man becomes when he leaves a place he once promised to die in. Freedom is a strange word. People imagine it tastes like air after drowning. They imagine relief, but freedom, in the beginning, tasted like guilt and cold coffee and rooms that echoed when I spoke. Freedom felt like sleeping alone and waking up startled by the absence of someone else's breathing. The first nights were the worst, not because I missed my wife's body, but because I missed her certainty. She had believed in us the way some people believe in God. Without proof, without hesitation, without backup plans. I had taken that faith and shattered it, then walked away carrying only the pieces that suited me. You asked me once, softly, "Are you okay?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell you that choosing you didn't erase what I destroyed. But I nodded, because men like me mistake endurance for strength. We began slowly, not because we were cautious, but because we were afraid of naming what we already were. Love born from ruins does not announce itself loudly. It whispers, as if afraid someone will overhear and call it a sin. Your place became my refuge. Your laughter stitched parts of me back together. Your hands reminded me that desire could still feel pure, even when its origin was not. And yet, even in your arms, my past followed me like a shadow that refused to stay behind. I dreamed of my wife. In those dreams, she was always doing something ordinary, watering plants, folding clothes, asking me a question I never answered. I woke up with apologies stuck in my throat, nowhere to go. I tried to hate her. God knows I tried, because hatred would have made this easier. But all I felt was regret sharpened by memory. You never asked me to stop talking about her. That kindness was both a gift and a knife. You understood something essential. That loving me meant loving a man still haunted by the woman he failed. We built a new routine, meals, conversations, shared silences. We learned each other's rhythms the way lovers do, and sometimes, in rare moments, I forgot everything else. But forgetting is temporary. Consequences are not. Friends chose sides. Some stopped calling. Others pretended neutrality while quietly judging. My family asked careful questions the kind designed to avoid blame while delivering it anyway. My mother said, "Marriage is work." I didn't argue. She was right. But she didn't ask what happens when the work becomes survival instead of growth. My father said nothing. That hurt more. And my wife, my former wife, she vanished from my daily life, but not from my conscience. I heard she was doing fine, which is the most dangerous lie society tells divorced women. Fine means functioning. It does not mean healed. Sometimes I wanted to call her, not to reconcile, not to explain, just to say, I see what I did, I carry it. But I knew that reopening wounds for my own relief would be another act of selfishness. So I stayed silent. Again, you began to notice the cracks in me I had tried to hide. The way I flinched at commitment talk. The way I hesitated when you spoke of the future. Not because I didn't want one with you, but because I was terrified of breaking something else I couldn't afford to lose. You're still punishing yourself, you said once, and I hated you for being right. Love after loss is not innocent. It is cautious. It asks questions love shouldn't have to ask. It wonders if happiness is borrowed and when the bill will arrive. I started measuring myself against the man I used to be. Was I better now, or just braver in my selfishness? What I promise when love gets heavy, love will not always feel light. Some seasons will press on us quietly, others will arrive loudly, without warning. I won't pretend otherwise. There will be moments when joy feels distant, when responsibilities stack higher than our energy, when life asks more than we feel ready to give. In those moments, this is who I promise to be. I promise to stay, not in a dramatic way, not with loud declarations, but in the small, stubborn way that matters most. I will stay when conversations are hard, when feelings are messy, when understanding takes effort. I will not confuse temporary exhaustion with permanent failure. I will not treat bad days like bad love. If you cry, I won't rush to fix you like you're a problem. I will sit with you until the weight eases, or until it doesn't, and we learn to carry it together. I promise to protect your softness, the parts of you the world doesn't see, the parts you only show when you feel safe. I will never mock your sensitivity. I will never weaponize your honesty. Your openness will be honored here. When I am wrong, and I will be wrong, I will own it, without excuses, without turning the blame toward you. My pride will never be more important than our peace. I promise to speak your name with respect, even when you're not in the room, even when we disagree, even when no one would ever know. Loyalty is not just about presence, it's about protection. I will protect what we build, from outside noise, from unnecessary comparisons, from the quiet erosion of neglect. I won't stop courting you just because time passes. Love does not expire once it becomes familiar. I will still reach for your hand, still ask how your heart is, not as a habit, but as a genuine question. If one day you feel lost, I won't demand that you find yourself quickly. I will give you room to breathe and remind you that you are not walking alone. And if one day I lose my way, I hope you'll remind me too. This is not a promise of perfection. It is a promise of effort, a promise to return to you, even after hard conversations, even after misunderstandings, even after the days that test us, because love, real love, is not proven when everything is easy. It is proven in the moments when staying is a choice. And I choose you. The forever we will keep choosing. If this is the last part you ever read, I wanted to hold everything I couldn't say out loud without my voice breaking, because this is where love stops being poetic and becomes permanent. Not permanent like a promise spoken once and forgotten in comfort, but permanent like a decision revisited every single day. This is the part where love grows roots. One day we will wake up and realize that time has quietly moved us forward. We will not feel younger. We will not feel untouched, but we will feel earned. Our love will carry history in its posture, inside jokes no one else understands, arguments we survived instead of avoided, memories stitched together by ordinary days. We won't remember the exact moment we became us. It will blur into routine, and that will be the miracle. I imagine mornings with you, not cinematic ones, real ones, hair messy, silence thick with sleep, coffee brewed stronger than conversation. I imagine brushing past you in the hallway and feeling gratitude hit me suddenly, without warning, for a life that feels shared. I imagine nights too, some filled with laughter, some filled with tiredness, some where we fall asleep back to back, not because something is wrong, but because rest has become sacred. And in all of it, I imagine choosing you, not because you are easy, not because love feels effortless, but because after everything life shows us, you still feel like home. There will be moments we question ourselves, moments where the world looks heavy and the future feels uncertain. Money, family, dreams that change shape, dreams that take longer than expected. We will not always agree on the path, but I promise we will walk it together. I will not demand that you dream like me. I will not shrink my dreams to keep peace. We will make room for each other's becoming. I want to grow old with you in a way that doesn't feel like settling. I want wrinkles that come from laughter. I want patience that comes from knowing your patterns. I want love that feels lived in, not fragile. If one day my body slows down, let my devotion be what stays strong. If one day your light dims, let me be the one who remembers how brightly you once shined and reminds you gently we will forgive each other more times than we ever imagined. Forgive missed words, forgive tone, forgive days we didn't show up perfectly. Forgiveness will not mean forgetting. It will mean choosing connection over control. There will be people who misunderstand our love, people who compare, people who project their disappointments. We will not explain ourselves. What we build does not need applause. We will protect our marriage like a living thing, feeding it, checking on it, tending to it before cracks appear. I will not flirt with exits during difficult seasons. I will not threaten distance to win an argument. I will not keep score. Love is not a competition, it is a collaboration. If children come into our lives, I want them to learn love by watching how we treat each other. Let them see respect modeled, apologies spoken, affection given freely. Let our home feel emotionally safe, not perfect, but honest. And if children do not come, our love will still be full. We will pour into each other, into our community, into meaning beyond ourselves. Our worth will never depend on what we produce, only on how we love. I want to know you in silence, in illness, in grief, in change. I want to know the sound of your breathing when you sleep deeply, the face you make when you're thinking hard, the way you withdraw when overwhelmed, and the way you come back when you feel safe. I will learn your language again and again as it evolves. I will not expect you to be the same woman I first fell in love with. I will fall in love with every version of you, and I ask for the same grace. If one day you read this, years into our life together, I hope you smile not because it's romantic, but because it's true, because you recognize us in these words, because we kept choosing even when it was inconvenient, even when it was boring, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. This letter was never meant to impress you. It was meant to prepare me, to remind me on days when love feels quiet, that quiet does not mean empty. It means rooted. So if you ever doubt us, come back to this. Come back to the man who wrote this before he had you, who believed in you before he knew your face, who promised you effort before he ever promised forever. I am still choosing you. I will always be choosing you. And if love has a final form, I think it looks like this. Two imperfect people continuing to say, I'm here, long after the echo fades. After the promises are kept, there is a version of love no one prepares you for. It arrives after the vows have been spoken, after the pictures have been taken, after the world has stopped paying attention. It is not loud, it does not sparkle, it does not ask to be seen. It simply stays. This is the love I want to write about now. The love that lives after forever is promised. The love that proves whether forever was ever real. Because eternity is not made of years. It is made of ordinary days that refuse to give up on each other. One day, you and I will stop counting milestones. Anniversaries will pass quietly. Birthdays will blur into routine. Time will no longer feel dramatic. And still, I will wake up and choose you. Not because I am reminded to. Not because it is expected. But because choosing you has become instinct. Love at this stage will look different. It will look like grocery lists written in a hurry, like knowing which silence means peace and which one means I need you to ask. It will look like reading the same book in the same room, without speaking, yet feeling completely together. We will learn each other's rhythms more deeply than each other's words. I will know when you need space, and when space would feel like abandonment. You will know when my quiet is reflection, and when it is exhaustion asking for rest. This kind of knowing is not romantic, it is intimate, it is earned. There will be years where nothing extraordinary happens, no big changes, no major events, just life. And those will be the years that matter most. Because anyone can love you during transformation. It takes devotion to love someone during sameness. I promise I will not grow bored of the life we build. I will not confuse comfort with stagnation. I will not look elsewhere for excitement when meaning is already sitting across from me at the table. I will remember that familiarity is not the enemy of desire. Neglect is. So I will keep noticing you. I will notice the subtle changes in your voice, the way your dreams shift over time, the new fears you don't yet have language for. I will not assume I already know you completely. I will remain a student of your becoming. We will age, slowly at first, then all at once. Our faces will change. Our bodies will carry time differently. Some abilities will leave us quietly. But if love has been done right, What remains will be deeper than attraction. It will be recognition. I will look at you one day and see every version you have ever been, standing behind your eyes, and I will feel lucky, not proud, not accomplished, lucky. There will be losses. People we love will leave this world. Dreams we counted on will end unexpectedly. Certainties will collapse without warning. Grief will visit our home. When it does, I will not try to outrun it. I will let it sit with us. I will hold your hand in hospital hallways. I will sit beside you in silence. When words feel disrespectful, I will not demand strength from you.